Today we're talking all about the willingness to overcome obstacles. Our first audience member says, I am struggling with believing that I can achieve so many things. So this guest says, I think that the real reason I haven't been myself is because I don't like to be with myself. You said when we started, my obstacle was myself, and I know that was true for myself as well.
I think that's true for everybody.
A lot of people.
Right? I mean, who's the person that the main obstacle isn't them?
You ready? You ready? Yes. All right, let's do it. There are certain times that it is time to pivot. That's the goal of this show. The person that it makes you to keep going is the whole reason to keep. No matter what you want to accomplish, you can do anything. You can do anything you want. The willingness to overcome obstacles is one of those ones that is definitely easier said than done. It's something we learn as a kid when we go and we run a relay race and maybe we fall down and our parents and our friends are on the sidelines, they're cheering us on like, come on, you can do it, keep going, right? But as we get older, we develop a pattern of limiting beliefs that causes us to see somebody else do something, and instead of a keep going, you can do it, we get a really? Or how's that thing going? Right? With like a side of probably unsuccessful, right? Without even realizing it, we start to let others' fear of rejection and fear of failure and their experiences and limiting beliefs start to influence how we feel about our own dreams and goals. So how do we develop the willingness to overcome obstacles and keep pushing towards our goals? And why is it so important that we keep going? Today, we have Emmy-nominated executive producer and host of Your New Jersey on Me TV, WJLP, Lisa Marie Falbo. And she is here to talk about how to have the willingness to overcome obstacles and why it's so important to your creativity and success. So please welcome Lisa Marie Falbo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, because it's very weird being on this side.
Yes, you're on this side.
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of nervous.
It's fun. It makes me nervous that you're here. So one of my questions for you is the willingness to overcome obstacles. Obviously, getting to where you're at, you have had to deal with overcoming obstacles. So where do we start when an obstacle arises, or that first time that we get discouraged or something like that happens?
When I look back at my career, the first obstacle I think I encountered was myself. I always knew what I wanted to do since I was 7 years old. Always. But I think the confidence wasn't there. So I remember graduating college, seeing others land that dream on their job, for example, right? Because that's where my passion was. Right. And me not landing that, you know, I not envied, but I admired people that were my age, 22, 23, 24, doing it.
Right.
You know, I needed, I guess, to warm up behind the scenes, doing behind the scenes production stuff. And I had to build myself up to the front of the camera because I didn't think I was good enough. I got told that, you know, by people, you know, by getting talent tapes. Remember? You used to like have to record your demo reel on VHS tapes and then sending it to different news directors and everything. Never got a call back. So, you know, you take all of that rejection and that coupled with not having the confidence, okay, I suck. So I guess it's not going to happen for me. But I knew I was meant for it. So I still quietly always work toward the goal, and thank God.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of my biggest struggles is knowing when do we push past those obstacles, and when is it time to pivot or maybe go in a different direction. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how to know when is it time to pivot and when is it time to keep pushing forward and overcome those obstacles. So stick around.
Hi, my name's Margot Danamate, and I have practiced criminal law for over 20 years. I have seen the devastating effects of low self-esteem. I'm also raising 2 young daughters, and I see how inundated they are by social media and influencers. In response to this, I've written 2 children's books to teach children that true beauty comes from within. I now run workshops and one-on-one coaching sessions. I would love to hear from you to talk about this important subject. Thank you.
Henry Ford once said, "Obstacles are those frightful things that you see when you take your eyes off the goal." So when do you know when to push past those obstacles that come up? And when do you know when it's time to pivot? We're going to learn all about how to know when to pivot and when to push past the obstacles. But first, as our audience members came in, we asked them to write down a question about overcoming obstacles and how to develop the willingness to overcome obstacles. So this is what they had to say. Our first audience member says, "I am struggling with believing that I can achieve so many things. I feel like I take all the steps, but still feel like I am not worthy of accomplishing all of my goals. How do I feel worthy?" That is a really good question. What do you think?
Oof. I think it's just having patience, right? It's just, if you're doing everything that you need to be doing, you just have to have patience in the process, because eventually it's going to hit.
Right.
You just have to keep being there.
Right.
So when the opportunity hits,
You're ready.
Place. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they say success happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's so true, right? It's like, I think that feeling of worthiness comes from not giving up. It comes from doing it, failing, or it not being the way you thought it should be, and then being like, I'm going to try again. And it gets a little better, and it gets a little better. And I think that's how we build up that worthiness, because the truth is that we all have an innate worthiness that we're born with, right? We all come into this world. That was kind of always my thing. Is like, well, Beyonce comes from whatever thing that I come from. So she's developed more skills and she's gotten more talent. Or not more talent, but she's gotten more experience and things like that. And eventually I can get to where I'm supposed to be too. And I think that's how I got to develop that worthiness to overcome those obstacles. Yeah, good question. Our next guest says, "I am struggling with constant anxiety and insomnia. I want to be able to have a full night's rest, but also just be able to work my butt off and climb the corporate ladder." Awesome. That's an awesome ambition. What do you think?
Just get to bed early,
Right.
Try and carve out free time that works for you.
Right.
And at the same time, you don't have to work 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you don't.
And nobody is expecting that of you. But as long as you're doing something toward your goal every single day,
Right.
that's what matters.
Right. I think it's being accountable to yourself. I think, this person is saying they struggle with constant anxiety and insomnia. I think that the first step is getting to the root of that. Like, what's going on with, why am I feeling so anxious? Why can't I sleep at night? Maybe it's their dreams that are keeping them up.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
You know what? If you really can't sleep,
Go work.
go work.
Go create.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then that will maybe lull you to sleep and
Yes.
take off some of the edge.
Yeah, and I think it's figuring out what's keeping me up, because
Yeah.
I know for me, a lot of times it's that I didn't either write a list because I'm trying to remember all the things I have to do tomorrow. I'm like, let me just write a list.
When you're a creative
like that.
person, and you know this, inspiration strikes at all hours of the day, right? And a lot of the times it's right before you go to sleep. You have an amazing idea. The shower's another great place.
Yes, it is.
But it's when you're peaceful and the noise is gone, and that's when the creativity flows sometimes.
Right.
So make the most of that moment.
I agree. I definitely agree. Good. Awesome. All right, we have one more. Stick around. Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Michael Jordan. Chairs provided by Resnick's Rentals. 100 years of service since 1912. So this guest says, my name is Danielle, and I have been wanting to try solo traveling for a while. I had the opportunity to try going out by myself 2 years ago, but I'm scared to go alone. I say the reason I haven't overcome that obstacle is my social anxiety. But I think that the real reason I haven't been myself is because I don't like to be with myself. Honestly, I'm disappointed that I haven't tried to overcome it up until now because I know it would make me feel more confident. I'm committed to facing my fears and figuring out what is holding me back from having the willingness to overcome that obstacle and achieve my goal. Wow. First of all, I have to say, I think it's so cool, and that's the goal of this show, is for people to have a space where they can start to be honest with themselves. They can say, you know, that's why we have this question to say, well, I say it's because of this, but really, I think it's because of this. And that's where we start to really dig into overcoming all of those willingnesses that we talk on every episode. You know, we did an episode about the willingness to ask and the willingness to try. And all of those things, there's always a deeper level. There's always a deeper meaning as to why you're not going forward. Why aren't you pushing past that obstacle? And I'm seeing a pattern just in these few guests to say, it's a feeling about yourself. It's a feeling of knowing that.
Well, for Danielle, what I would suggest is you want to solo travel.
Yeah.
Identify the place that you want to go.
Yes.
Is it Egypt to see the pyramids? Is it, you know, St. Thomas on the beach?
Right.
Is it Italy? Whatever it is, book it
Yes.
and go, because your excitement will supersede all the fear. I mean, I've traveled alone, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on business trips, I went to Paris.
Yeah, I love it. I love to go out to dinner by myself.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
great, and it's relaxing. I went to Paris for 48 hours. Somebody needed video, and I flew out by myself and toured the city by myself as soon as the gig was done, and then hopped on a plane and came home. It was awesome.
Were you scared?
No, because there was just so much activity.
I hope that Danielle does this, because I think that something I've experienced in overcoming obstacles is that, like, you made such a great point to say, well, we have these ideas, right, where we say, I want to be on TV, or no one could have ever told me all the things that go into making a show until it came up. And it's like, now I'm really learning those pieces and everything that's important. But it's like, you have to have a clear goal.
Exactly.
I think with the traveling, it's important to do what you said, is to say, I'm going to make a definitive, maybe not just traveling, everything that people have a goal about.
Yep.
I find that being very broad with your goal, it gives a lot of, like, the universe will deliver what you put out. So when you're like, well, I just want to go somewhere. Well, technically you crossed the street, so you went somewhere. Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
So it's like, if we say, I want to go to Fiji with a friend, or, which I'll put that in the universe right now.
Yeah, seriously.
But that being more specific is going to help you, and even like you said, planning the trip or booking the ticket and being nervous while you do that, but just being like, I'm going to book it. That's going to make you go through those steps and say, let me overcome those obstacles. But I do, before we move on from her question, I want to address the fact that she said she thinks that the real reason is that she doesn't like to be with herself. I think that's really interesting and very honorable that she's identifying that already. I wonder, maybe what can we advise in terms of how do we push past that obstacle? Because you said when we started, my obstacle was myself, and I know that was true for myself as well.
I think that's true for everybody.
A lot of people,
right? I mean, who's the person that the main obstacle isn't them? Maybe Beyonce.
Maybe.
But listen, look at, she had humble beginnings, right?
Right.
She was touring malls with her girl group,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Opening for NSYNC,
Yeah.
right? I remember those days, who's Destiny's Child? And look at where she is. I guarantee every single person, at the top of their game has had that some sort of insecurity.
Probably.
You just can't let it.
Which
eat
we
you
don't
up.
see.
No,
So
why
right.
would you want to put the insecurity out
Right.
there?
So it's like other people feel like they see somebody achieving something they want to do, and they think, well, they had it so easy, or it would,
And again, talking about the process, being in the industry for as long as I have, working with the people that I have, it's not so glamorous. It's not so airbrushed.
Right.
I know now with social media, Facetune, right?
Yeah.
Everything is like so perfect. I saw a quote yesterday. We live in a society where there's a lot of happy pictures, but a lot of sad people.
Wow.
When I was 25, because I started my business,
Yeah.
I couldn't afford
Same.
a Starbucks.
Same.
I couldn't afford a manicure. I
Oh,
stopped getting manicures
Yeah.
because, my friends all went away on vacation. I couldn't go because I was starting my business.
Right.
That sucked.
Yes.
And then you compare yourself.
Right. We're all everybody goes through the obstacles, right? All the people who have accomplished all the things that you want to accomplish have gone through the obstacles, and they got up and they brushed themselves off.
Listen, Beyonce,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to, right? That's what,
right.
I'm sure she has complaints. Look at, with her new album.
Of course.
She had to go and rewrite lyrics because
Yep.
there was a backup.
Somebody.
You don't
Mhm.
think she had to go back in the recording studio?
That takes a toll, right?
Absolutely,
Mhm, yeah.
absolutely. And who knows if, I don't know how many CDs they print now, but
Yeah,
I don't
right,
know if they
now.
had to go back to print and
Yeah.
listen. That's a bad day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No matter who you are. I think that's the thing that people forget. Oh, well, such and such person has accomplished what I want to. Like, are you done wanting to accomplish things?
Absolutely
Hell
not.
no. And me, I'm just getting started.
The show on MeTV
Yeah.
that you were a guest
Yeah.
on too, Your New Jersey, which was such an amazing opportunity that came out of left field.
Same. Yep.
I mean, we got notified that the company wanted to work with us
Okay.
at the end of November. No, listen, I'm like breastfeeding my baby.
Yeah.
Like this network calls. I'm like, really?
Kind of busy.
Kind of busy. But they wanted us. So
Yeah.
we put together another LLC. We got
Yeah.
a contract signed and looked over by a lawyer. Within the span of a week, December 13th,
Wow.
we're in the studio the day before Christmas,
Okay.
getting it set,
That's
on the air
awesome.
January 7th. Amazing opportunity. And I was like, had stars in my eyes
Yeah.
for like 2 months.
Mhm.
And I love it. And I'm so, so, so thankful. And I hope I do it for many other years.
Yeah.
But after a couple months, I'm like, okay, what's next?
Right. Because this is me leveling up, and then there's always a new level. There's always, and I think that, and we're going to get into this more in the episode, but the person that it makes you to keep going is the whole reason to keep, no matter what you want to accomplish, you can do anything. You can do anything you want. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish, I know for myself, and I'm sure you can agree, is every obstacle made me so much better. It made me so much smarter. It made me so much better at what I do. Like every single time. And it made me have a different perspective, everything. So it's like, you have to have the obstacle. Like I went through all these things to get to where I'm at, and they made me who I am.
Yeah.
They did.
Absolutely.
But I think,
And they make you a more interesting person.
definitely.
I look back
Same, oh
at
my
the
God.
people that, like I mentioned, like my peers when I was 23, 24, 25, reporting or doing on camera stuff, but they didn't, you don't have the life experience.
Right.
yet.
Right.
Now, at 38 years old,
Yeah.
I've been through a lot, professionally and personally, so I can, harken back on my experience, and that makes for a more authentic interview
Definitely.
and television show and experience, and wouldn't have had that 15 years ago.
Stay tuned.
So I know that we, on the card it said that Danielle doesn't really like to be by herself or with herself. So is there any tools that maybe you could share with us about personal development or things that you do to make, that worthiness factor, that confidence that you talked about?
Therapy.
Therapy.
I was so resistant. I thought, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm a hard-headed Italian. I don't need that. I'm fine. I'm good. But things were repeating.
Yes.
The same issues kept popping up. I found myself in the same unfortunate circumstances. And in 2015 is where things bottomed out. So a friend suggested, like, why don't you talk to someone?
Yeah.
And I would go every week, for a long time, and for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he showed me things that, you know, I needed just fine tuning.
Yes.
Like the problems that maybe seem like, oh my God, you know, fine tuning here and there, just like change your thinking here and there.
Right.
And just talking to somebody and having this person in their therapy, you know, psychotherapy
Yep.
ways. I don't
Yep.
know how they do it, but they do it.
Analyzing. Right.
They made me see things in a totally different way, and that was invaluable.
Mm.
So that's what I recommend. It works for me, maybe not
Yeah.
for everybody else.
You know, it's interesting. I think you said something that's really important is that people think therapy is like, you know, it's very unfortunate that for a very long time it was called mental illness. It wasn't called mental health.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that stigma gave it a very, you know, illness. I don't
Yeah.
have an illness. And it's your mental health, just like your physical health. It's your mental health.
The other thing I would say too is what you put in your body.
Mm.
So taking that holistic approach, you know, buying organic, eating, I mean, look, no one's diet is perfect, obviously, right? But really eating organic, taking your vitamins. As I've gotten older, I don't even drink anymore. They say like a healthy gut is a healthy mind.
Interesting.
And that I think is so important in mental health and in physical health. Just, you know, calling your own shots.
Nice. I totally agree. Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you have that that willingness.
And that's such a confidence booster.
Yes.
I mean,
like,
since
I am in charge.
Yeah, since giving birth, March 4th, 2021, if I've encountered anything unsavory, I think back to that day. I'm like, dude, if I can do that.
Yes. You're like, I got all of this.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So if I can do that, like, this is nothing.
Yeah, that's so cool. Cool. All right, well, we'll be right back. George Bernard Shaw said, "People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, they make them."
Are you a woman that needs more time in your day, less guilt, and a high five? Dr. Bonnie Hubert here, and if you answered yes to my question, you need to dive into my new book, Every Woman Needs a Maid. In the book, you'll learn 3 secrets to manage yourself so you can manage your time. You'll learn a simple process to end relationship conflict. And you'll learn how to use outsourcing to eliminate stress. Scan the QR code in the show notes to order your hard copy, ebook, or audio version today.
Okay, so here's what I do know. The willingness to overcome obstacles is something that everybody needs in order to achieve their goals. Jim Rohn is one of my favorite motivational speakers, and he tells a great story of the seasons and how we just have to be used to these seasons of our life. Some seasons of life are winter. Some seasons of life are harvest. Some seasons of life are summer. And we just have to be prepared for that next season and know that this season doesn't last forever. And that's part of overcoming obstacles. So here are a few practical application steps so you can continue to keep pushing forward and overcome those obstacles. So first, we want to identify the obstacle and its depth. Is there another way? So maybe you can share with us an obstacle, when we get an obstacle right away and we identify that. I think that was something we were talking about with the guests is, yes, I feel like this and I'm not doing this because of this, but really this is the reason.
Yeah, it's looking in the mirror and not hiding from that feeling. And with yourself, figuring out what's giving me that feeling and being completely open and honest with yourself.
Yep, I agree. Next, we want to say, next is to identify how does it feel. This is where I think it's really important to figure out when are we pivoting and when are we overcoming the obstacle. Because there are certain times that it is time to pivot. You are beating a dead horse or you're doing something that maybe you really want to do, but it's not your calling or it's not your purpose. And so I think that step number 2 is identifying is this challenge something that is frustrating me or something that, I'm upset about, but I can do it? Or is it something that, I feel like uninspired, I feel not purposeful? That's where I think we get to decide which direction we need to go.
So it's not going to hit you over the head.
Right.
It's not going to come, in most cases, like after a big event. It's going to come when you least expect it. And when it comes, go with it. That's what I learned in therapy. When I was going through certain things, and again, beating that dead horse, he said to me, like, it's not going to be today, it's not going to be tomorrow, but when you hit the wall, you're going to know, and it's going to be okay. Yeah. And that's what happened. I hit the wall one day, and I walked away.
And you're okay.
I'm more than okay.
And it changed your life, right? And like, the next one I think is that root of figuring out, is this really what I'm meant to do? Is this my passion and my purpose? Something that's very important for me, because of course writing the episodes makes me think, how do I do this myself? And I think for myself, when music, everybody knows music is like my first love, and that's what I've been doing for years and years and years, and having success, but different types, and maybe not as much as I had hoped, or going after opportunities, trying to make them work when they weren't maybe right for me. And when I started to finally say, why is it so important for me to be successful at music? And the answer was, I love to connect with people. I love to write music that people benefit from, that makes people feel confident, that empowers people. I love to talk to people after a show. I love when somebody says to me, oh my gosh, I love that song, I listened to it. I remember I wrote a song called You Matter, and somebody came up to me after a show and she said, I listen to that song every day after my brother committed suicide. And I was like, wow, like that's so powerful. But identifying those things made me realize I can do that with other things than music. I can have meaning. And then the show manifested. And it was like, it opened the door for so many things when I said, there are obstacles in my way. I keep going after certain things that are really resistant. What is it that I'm really going after? And when I surrender to that is when all these other opportunities presented themselves.
And it looks totally different than what you imagined.
Totally. But it's still serving the same purpose.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, like I said, I always wanted to be in media. But in first grade, I became still am a huge diehard New York Giants fan.
Okay.
Love football. So I wanted to, when I grew up, go on TV and talk about football. And by then, women were making their way in locker rooms and on the sidelines. So like that was my goal.
Cool.
But, and again, maybe it was the lack of confidence, because then I worked at a sports radio station, WFAN, who broadcast the Giants. Nice. And then I worked for the Giants for 15 years, producing radio shows for them on game days. So like it manifested itself totally, just not in a way I imagined. But that was okay, because I learned I had other passions along the way. The radio station, WFAN, I interned there when I was in college, but not even in production. I did it in marketing and promotions. And I'm like, this is cool. Yeah. I like that. And then through that, I would go to sales meetings. And then I worked in production. So I look back at that experience. That's me today. With owning my companies, right? In front of the camera, in back of the camera, the sales, the marketing. And it made me realize I love the whole. Another internship I had in college was at My 9, which isn't even, the channel is there, but the news isn't there anymore. They were based in Secaucus. Hated it. Hated the newsroom environment with a passion. Okay. Because at the Fan, which ended up hiring me while I was still in college, I got exposed to everything. Okay. There I was pigeonholed. And that's like the worst thing you could ever do to me. Right. Is give me one job and one job only and not explore the different avenues. Yes. Because of rules, union, whatever. And I'm like, this sucks. I don't feel like climbing this ladder.
Right.
Then my first job out of school was with a production company, the Caucus Educational Corporation, Steve Adebato. He does shows for PBS, at the time Comcast Network, and that was eye-opening because here was a guy who had his own production company. He had a staff, called his own shots, made his own schedule, still worked incredibly hard, but it was on his terms.
And this was like a mentor of yours?
Yeah. And I worked there for 3 years. I call it my paid master's program,
Nice.
right?
Yes.
Because I did everything.
Yeah.
I was back to doing everything. Marketing, helping him write his book, and research, and teaching with him, and on air, off air, everything. You know, all of these experiences showed me what I want and what I didn't want.
Right.
And I figured if I can make it on my own, like a Steve, I got it made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. That's awesome. So cool. All right, we'll be right back. Oprah said, when you meet obstacles with gratitude, your perception starts to shift. Resistance loses its power, and grace finds a home within you. Transportation provided by Lux Autos in Bayonne, New Jersey. That's all we have for today's show. Thank you so much to our special guest, Lisa Marie Falbo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And by the way, I'm so happy we're in Bayonne.
Yes.
Because I lived for 3.5 years in Port Liberté in Jersey City, which borders Bayonne, basically.
I know.
So I would run all my errands here, and it's so nice to be back.
I know. I love this area. It's a great
Incredible vibe. Absolutely.
Good. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you contributing to the conversation and sharing your experiences with us. I think that the audience will very much benefit from how you've been able to overcome obstacles, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who will watch this who do want to be in news or media or what you've done. And I think it's important for them to hear stories about it wasn't always glamorous and it wasn't always this. And so I thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for being such a light and doing this very important show on these very important topics.
Definitely.
And for having little old me on. You could have had a lot of other people on, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to Jim Rohn, one of my favorite spiritual teachers. If you don't know Jim Rohn, please go check him out. We have all that and more resources at lovelightsoundmusic.com. So make sure you go and check out the resources and sign up for the exclusive newsletter for some bonus material. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Resnick's Rentals for providing the chairs today. And of course, big special thank you to Piero's Music in Bayonne, New Jersey for hosting the 5th episode of the Alaura Show. As always, thank you to the team at Love Light Sound Music for making this production possible. And I hope that you leave feeling more worthy, more valuable, and more willing to move towards creating your best life. Remember to be present, be aligned, and be willing to go after the things that are already meant for you. Love and light to you kings and queens. We'll see you next week.
I so appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome.